Hey everybody and welcome back. This is finally it, the big one. So this is going to be a pretty long video. I do have timestamps in case you want to see a specific part of it. And then later on down the line, I'll be releasing the final credits scene that has all of the awesome exit sequences, because I think those are really cool and I think everybody should watch those if they haven't. So right now we are gearing up, and you may have remembered, or you may remember that I've spoken a couple of times about how we don't have enough gear for everyone across every party. So our key goal here is to create 4 really capable characters. I'm going to go with Tara, Celis, Edgar, and Locke. That's not necessarily a requirement. That's just something I decided on. So you could do this with other people, though Celis and Tara specifically, you probably are going to want to take. The other two are a little bit more flexible. Not for me, though. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to pump everybody's magic evade up into the 100s. Preferably get into the 120 area if we can. But not everybody has the right kind of gear available to do that. So we just need to be aware that we're going to be bringing some people back up from the dead. And again, like I said, you don't need to play with those specific characters. If you made different choices, that might be a little bit easier, but those are the people that I wanted to take along for this final adventure. So, we're finally here. We have traversed Kefka's tower, and our 3 groups are arriving at the same time here to confront him as he stands on this platform of disgustingness. You can see girders and, I don't know, molten, melted rock and spires, and in the back, Sauron's eye. So lots of scary stuff. Kefka himself is here to welcome us. He said he knew that we'd make it, so he prepared some entertainment for us. Very cool, very fun. So what does that mean? Does he mean everything we already fought? But whatever. Anyway, after that, he's gonna put on a little show. And interestingly, you see in parties 1 and 2 in the middle and on the left, the main character, or the party lead, is the person that steps forward and speaks or gets pulled in by his spell. In party 3, he does not take the first person. He took the 4th person. He took Shadow instead of Celis. So that was interesting. I probably would have moved that around. Not that it matters at all, but Kefka's going to monologue a little bit here and talk about how meaningless life is, and well, we're the good guys, so we can't agree with that. We have to tell him that, it's just the little things, the celebrations of life and love. Those are the small victories that we achieve every day, and if enough people can experience those things, then life is worth it. And Kefka mocks us and asks about our joy, and God, you don't even know, dude, we are so joyful. Don't even start with us. So now we're going to go down the line, and everybody's going to talk about what their joy is. Tara knows what love is. Locke has learned to celebrate life and the living. Cyan's family lives on inside of him. Shadow knows what friendship is and family. Edgar wants to build a kingdom with freedom and dignity. Sabin loves his brother. Very cool. Celis has met someone who can accept her for what she is. Realm has a brave grandpa who will stand by her, but he's not here. Setzer has his friend's airship and love, and Mog has all his friends. Gao also has all his friends. Those guys aren't very important. So yeah, pretty cool. We missed out on Strago and Umaro, but whatever. And then Kefka's gonna mock us again. We sound like chapters from a self-help book. Do love me some Kefka. He's a pretty silly villain. So next thing he's gonna do is react in anger. He's gonna drop some lasers on the world. That's looking pretty nasty. This place, already took a beating, and that's not going to help. And then you can see our lineup changed here, so it looks a little bit different than it did before, which I think is kind of interesting that they programmed 2 different ways, if that makes sense. So yeah, Kefka's going on a power trip, and he's going to destroy everything. He's going to create a monument to non-existence. Sounds like a lonely life. Tara says life will go on, there will always be people, there will always be dreams, and Kefka's like, I'm a spoiled, angry brat, so that's not going to happen. We will not allow you to harm another living thing. But yeah, Kefka's crazy, so he wants to kill. He's done it before. So he's gonna keep going. It's not good. But yeah, fight's coming up here, so very shortly we'll be able to hopefully try to do something to stop him. Now we need to set our party order, and you probably noticed if you were watching pretty close that I only equipped 4 people, so that is who we have. If those people die, we're not making it out of here. We're going to start over. You might be guessing from the fact that this video got uploaded that we did make it out of there. Alright, here we go. Let's start at the beginning. Okay, so here we go. We are up against 3 enemies in this first level of the Statue of the Gods. We have Long Arm on the left, yes, Long Arm. Short Arm on the right, the one that's making a fist. And then Face, or Visage, if you play a newer version of the game. None of these 3 are too exceptionally scary. The left arm, the Long Arm, can do a physical attack, and then it can also use a shockwave, which is nothing really worth worrying about. That arm is also weak against Death and Petrified, so you can use Doom or Break to get that guy knocked out pretty quickly. I am kind of stuck in my ways where, you know, if you have a hammer, everything kind of looks like a nail, and we have a hammer called Ultima, so everything kind of gets beaten down with that. But that's not to say that that's the best way to do it. You certainly could save yourself some time by exploiting some weaknesses here. The other thing that we see in here is that slip hit. That one is actually kind of frustrating because that's going to put a sap effect on Celis, which means she's constantly going to be losing HP for the remainder of the fight, which is pretty frustrating when this fight took me like an hour to record. And while we're speaking of time, I just want to cover exactly what kind of decisions I made as far as recording went. So the final cut of this fight, like I said, was like an hour. And I don't think that anybody wanted to watch that. So what I did was I set it to speed 3, and then I did a whole bunch of audio mixing to hopefully keep the tracks in line with where they should be, you know, based on where we're at in the fight. So that kind of cuts it down as far as how much time you're sitting here staring at this, because it is kind of repetitive, but also hopefully gives you the feel for how this fight went for me, which was a little harrowing, not specifically this part. So that's the arms. Let's talk about Phase 2 though, because, you know, he's technically the boss here. Again, not too worrisome. We'll get into some more frightful things coming up, but the sap effect is the thing that I'm most worried about here. And then it can technically shift us, like how we got our rows reversed in one of the boss fights against a statue earlier. Honestly, we don't really care, because whether we're in the front row or the back, a single physical attack is absolutely just going to kill us. So the story of this game, as always, has been to get life 3 on everybody, and then to just wail away on them. I did notice about 2/3 of the way through this fight that I was having the same issue that I was running into in earlier fights, where Terra was getting lapped by the people that were casting quick, and that's not really going to fly for the rest of this fight, because if they cast quick, you know, they can cast Ultima twice, and that's very cool. But that means we're giving up Terra's turn, which is 5 Ultimas. So at some point in here, I'm going to realize that, and I'm going to kind of switch tactics, and everybody else is just going to use 1 casting of Ultima. Like, even now on 3 times speed, you can tell it's been, I don't know, maybe almost a minute since Terra's last turn, and she is by far our heaviest dealer of damage, so we're going to need to adjust that tactic, especially going into the later fights where I need to have a lot of turns in a row. We just dropped the short arm, so we got long arm and face left, and here comes Terra to do a little bit of mopping up. So there's not much that stands up as far as what I can do to the damage of casting Ultima 5 times in a row, and especially when we knock out, you know, most of the enemies. One thing that we avoided there by killing the face before the arm was a quake spell, which that would have been pretty bad. So then we get to the second level, so let's talk about that. This time we've got a 4-piecer. We have Tiger, Machine, Power, and Magic. And they all can do some different things, and all of them, well, most of them are kind of scary. So let's start with Tiger. Tiger is probably the scariest. Uses Southern Cross and Flare Star, and Northern Cross also, actually. All of those are pretty nasty things you don't want to get hit with. Not good stuff, so that's kind of spooky. Magic is actually probably the least scary, depending on how you play it. So you can silence Magic, and then Magic only casts spells, as the name implies. So if you silence Magic, there's just not really anything you need to worry about. So that would stop us really from being worried about the dispels that keep getting thrown out. Also can do all kinds of different things, like, you know, it dropped haste right at the beginning. I think we've seen bio already. A few different things that Magic can do, though at this point in the game, nothing that is so scary to me that I'm like quaking in my boots, you know what I mean? So, and then Power is the like physical attacker, and again, I'm not really worried about Power, although Power does have a nasty like death sequence where it's going to attack 10 times, like physical attacks 10 times in a row. If you're watching and not just listening, this is the part where I realized I almost just lost this run because I didn't carry over my life 3 status from the first fight to the second one, and I didn't like get it back on everybody right away. Holy crap. I was sweating so bad. Like I don't know how I missed that or how I forgot about that. But at this point I had already been playing for, I don't know, about half an hour maybe. And yeah, that put the fear of God in me. So we got to get life 3 on, everybody. Don't forget about that. Life 3 doesn't carry over between the different statues, between the different parts of the statue of the gods. So ha 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 ha, but it turned out okay. And then the only one that I haven't covered is Machine. Machine is also, I would say Machine and Tiger are the 2 that I'm most afraid of. Machine can use like Magitech style kind of things. So it's got Diffuser and Delta Attack and Atomic Ray. None of those are things that we really want to get hit with. So we just need to be a little more vigilant here than I was for a moment there. And yeah, there goes like absolute 0. So for the most part, most of the stuff that's going to hit us here, we're pretty prepared for, you know? Like we've spent, I would say, maybe 10 plus hours in the World of Ruin, mostly just getting gear to prepare for this. And it looks like we're down to 3 already, so we're making good time here. I think I just saw 10 hits go across, so that means we're going to be down to 2. But yeah, that's what happens. It attacks 10 times in a row, and that's kind of whatever when, you know, you can block every single attack, but we can't block every single attack with every single person. The other thing that I kind of need to cover, if you don't know already, is the way that this fight works. If anyone dies in the middle of the battle, it doesn't really matter. You know, you can cast life and get them back up and they can keep fighting. Nope, there goes another one. But if anybody is dead at the end of the fight, they get replaced by the next person in the chain. So we need to make sure that at the end of every one of these sequences, all 4 of our fighters are alive. Because if any of them are down, I pretty much just need to reset. So yeah, I guess I shouldn't say like Magic isn't scary. I just got hit by Flare for like 1800 damage. And that's just another situation where I need to have life 3 on somebody. Otherwise, you know, if Terra were to take her turn in the middle of that before I could get life 3 and killed that thing with an Ultima, I could potentially lose lock. So I probably should have played this one a little bit smarter and gotten silence on Magic. That probably would have made me feel a little more comfortable. But in the end, you know, we hit them with our hammer, and now we're going to move on to the 3rd phase of the fight. So let's see what we got here. This time we have a 2-part fight. We have Lady, or Girl, which is the like torso and head, I guess, on the top left. And then we have Sleep, or Rest, which is the one that when I played this for the first time, I actually thought that was Kefka. But it's not. So the way that this fight works is Girl will basically be the healer and kind of the problem child. Rest or sleep is gonna just wail away on us, and Girl is going to try to keep them both alive. So when she casts White Wind, she heals herself and she heals the other half of the boss. And if you're watching and you saw those green numbers pop up, she does a lot of healing, and she pretty much just nullifies all of the work that we're doing. So that was just like 7,200. She only has about 10,000 HP. She has the 9,999, so that's fine. And then the other half of the boss has, I want to say, like 40,000. So our first goal is going to be to take down Girl, because we can't, I mean, that's just, it's hard to overcome that healing. And we also kind of have to hope that, you know, she'll waste a turn not doing anything. All the while, we are getting hit with Merton, which is going to target everyone on the screen. I think I talked a little bit about that spell. We could have taught that to everybody and equipped like wind or fire absorbing gear, and then we could turn that into our own healing spell, and that's kind of what they're doing. Girl is actually weak against like every element, but she also absorbs every element. So she gets hit for double damage, but then she absorbs it. So this fight is, I mean, it's just kind of weird. You don't probably know exactly what's going on the first time you do it, and it's another one of those ones where, just like, I mean, every single one of these fights, if you don't have Life 3 on at the end of it, you're gonna have a bad time. But we got Girl down, and now we just have Sleep left, and he's not too scary, to be honest. This fight, it depends on how frequently Girl uses her healing. You know, if it's pretty infrequent, this fight goes really, really quick. And if it's really frequent, this fight can take a little while. However, as with most places, we can hopefully, you know, if you get 5 ultimas off in the space of 0 seconds, you're feeling pretty good about how much damage you're doing. One thing we want to make sure that we do towards the end of this fight, and we are coming up on the end of this fight, is to get everybody some MP back. Because we don't want to run into a situation where somebody doesn't have any MP for the next fight, or we will be in trouble. So here we go, we are ending now, I believe, after this casting of Ultima, and one thing that happens then is Sleep is going to use Calmness. It can use that once or twice. Used it once there, and we blocked it. That is an instant kill. If it hits you, you die. So that can be really, really bad if you don't expect it and you lose someone right before the final fight, because here we are. It is Kefka. We get the like intro music here, and then of course, because he is a bad guy, he does have to monologue just for one last time, just talking about, you know, being evil, destroying stuff. Here we go. Kefka is actually a fantastic final boss in that he's challenging and really scary, and you know, it's not just like a joke final boss, like I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy X. So right off the bat, I believe we actually carried over our Life 3 from the third part of the Statue of the Gods. But if we're being honest, I was just a little afraid that I had been playing now for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, half an hour, I don't know, somewhere in there. And I really didn't want to do this all over. So I go ahead and I get Life 3 back on everybody. We're going to put haste on everyone as well, and then we're going to start trying to chip away at his HP. Kefka is hard. He's tough. He's really hard. He's got a lot of things that are really scary and really, really powerful. I believe there is actually no reason to morph, and that was probably a waste of a turn. Ultima doesn't seem to be affected by morph, which is kind of too bad, but this is what I'm talking about. There's Fallen 1. So that brings us down to 1 HP, the whole party, which it's an intimidation tactic. Don't fall for it. But Celis still had the sap status from way, way, way back. So she actually immediately took like 2 points of damage from sap and then died. And then I tried to get life 3 on her, but Kefka decided to use Havoc Wing, which is his other attack, one of his other attacks that, again, this is why we don't care if we have 1 HP, because that did 5,000 damage. Like, I'm not going to live through that if it hits me, so it doesn't matter whether or not I'm at full health or 1 HP. And that's kind of the theme of this fight. I have a bad habit of healing up, even in a low-level game, and it is a bad habit because you don't necessarily need to have full HP to be effective. You know, you can do just as much damage at 1 HP as you can at full HP. The problem is, though, when I'm looking at people's status effects, if they're, you know, near death, then I don't necessarily always see if they have like life 3 or something on them, but that's a me problem. That's not a game problem. So yeah, the story of this fight is pretty similar. We are making sure everyone has life 3 on themselves, and then we are trying to dish out as much damage as we can. Kefka has access to all of the level 3 elemental spells, which, you know, if those hit us, we're dead. You know, he has Havoc Wing, he has Fallen One, and he has another attack. Well, there's Hyperdrive, that's a good one to talk about. That's 3,400 damage. This is the one we're waiting for, though. The end comes beyond chaos. So if that doesn't scare the crap out of you when you're playing this, I don't know what would. That is not a happy place to be when the screen starts shaking like that. But what's nice is when you have that happen right before your person with the gem box quicks and uses, you know, 4 spells in a row. So yeah, we have everyone with life 3 here, and we have haste on Terra, which is cool, except now we have Goner. And Goner is one of the reasons that this fight is just pretty nasty. Nothing we can do about that. Nothing you can do about that one at all, you're dead. And this is why we wanted to make sure in the last fight that we had MP. Because after we come back from Goner, we immediately need to get life 3 back on everyone. Otherwise, you know, there's a really real possibility that we are going to have a party wipe. There's, you know, you could get attacked right after that and start losing people instantly. He used Revenger, which I'll talk about that when we see it again. Nothing happened because the conditions weren't met, but that also can be a run ender, potentially. So we got life 3 on everybody, and then we are gonna start hitting with Ultim again. This is what I'm talking about. I have such a bad habit of doing this. You don't need to heal yourself because you can't survive an attack. Stop doing that, dude. But I did it, and it is what it is. So we got life 3 on everybody, we got full health, we got hasted, and then we're gonna try and get... Terra is the important one to be doing damage here. Like, everyone else, if they have to spend every single one of their turns getting life 3 back on everyone, I am completely okay with that. As long as Terra can continue to pump out, you know, 10,000 damage a turn, we can live with that, and we'll survive. So that's what she's going to do. Train, here is another bad part of this fight. So Train is going to mute and blind us if we are susceptible to it. You might have noticed that nothing happened with Edgar. That's because he was wearing a white cape. I used that to increase his magic evade, but also used that to avoid the mute condition. Then we need to start getting echo screens on people so that they can start casting spells, but before I could get everybody ready, we get another Goner. And that's, you know, that's not good news because Edgar had not gotten life 3 back up on himself yet. And then we get Train again. So instead of even worrying about, you know, healing... Oh, and then we have Revenger. So actually, it doesn't matter yet. We'll get to it next time. So, yeah, this part was a little nerve-wracking. So we lost everybody. Edgar went down. We were muted. And then we had to quickly get unmuted, start getting life 3 on everybody, bring everybody back up. And the worst part about that is you kind of know that by the time you get everyone back up and alive and prepared, that you're going to get hit by another, like, world-ending attack. See, here we go. So we're going to have Goner again coming pretty soon here. So I started getting echo screens on everybody so they could start casting spells again, and that's cool. Importantly, you know, Terra got another round of ultimas out of here, but whenever the screen is shaking, you know, it's just a matter of time. You know, you're gonna die. So this fight it's a chore and it's a slog, and it is on a low level game at least. It is as scary as a final boss should be. So there goes Goner again. So yeah, let's watch everybody go out. And you know, my one kind of regret with the way that I did this editing is that we're missing out on some of the really cool sound effects. But if we didn't, you know, cut this down in speed, this would be a really long and kind of unwatchable fight. So we'll get some of Kefka's laughing in the Dancing Mad track, but we'll lose out on some of the laughing and the sound effects and stuff, and that's kind of too bad. So here we go. Revenger, this is the time that matters, because if you saw it missed on Locke and Edgar, well, why is that? That is because they didn't have life 3. So after all of the other scary things that happen in this fight, probably the scariest thing is that we can lose our life 3 status. And that can be, you know, just that's a run ender potentially, especially if it hits everybody and then all of a sudden, you know, you see a nasty Ultima. So yeah, there go our party. Locke and Edgar did have life 3, but I didn't get it back up on Celis and Terra, and now he's getting ready to use Goner again. So at this point, yeah, it's just like, you know, you're basically on the defensive. You need to make sure everyone has life 3. Everyone is at least able to survive the next attack. And if he uses Revenger, you know, you potentially lose even that capability. So we're going to try and get Terra up here and life 3, because if she can take one turn, she can kind of get all of our defenses back into place and prepare us for, you know, what's going to happen with Goner. But Edgar actually got a turn quickly enough that I was able to get Celis up, and then we'll go ahead and get life 3 on Celis so that we can get killed again by Goner. So yeah, this fight takes a while, and it's not even such a bad thing that it takes a while. What's hard is that if you don't notice, or if you like don't know what those abilities do, like if you don't know what Revenger does and you miss it, or you don't notice that, you know, something hit your party, you won't know why you died. But as with everything in this game, eventually, you know, we hit it enough times with Ultima. So that is it. That is the end of Kefka. We have successfully restored balance to the world, and yeah, I mean, that's the end of the game. There are some amazing end credit scenes, and I will upload those separately in another video. I hope you'll stay tuned for that, because that's almost as satisfying as winning here, but that'll have to be next time, because this is where we're stopping today. So if you do want to see what happens in those, go ahead and subscribe down below. If you have anything you want me to know, go ahead and leave me a comment, and I will hope to see you in the next video.